Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Path to the Draft presented by Nationwide. I'm Rhett Lewis. Glad to be here with my guys. As always, our Super Bowl winning general manager, Charlie Casserly, our former NFL scout, Bucky Brooks, all coming to you from our homes as we continue social distancing. And Charlie, as we also continue to look back on the 2020 NFL Draft, certainly glad to have you back here with us.
Oh, it's always a pleasure then. Hey, Bucky, just a little shout out for you here. You know, watching your performance at the Combine all through the spring, whether it's podcasts or Path to the Draft and Draft Day. Hey, man, you did a great job. I'll tell you what. You made us all proud. You made us better. Hey, great job, Bucky. Take a bow, will you?
I won't take a bow, but I will thank you, Charlie, so much because you've taught me a lot about the business. I just hope I can pay it forward.
I will echo your sentiments, Charlie. I was with Bucky on a podcast recap after night 2 of the draft where we finished taping near 1 a.m. Pacific time. He was back in the chair at 6 a.m. Pacific the next morning to get you ready for day 3 of the draft. We certainly appreciate it, my man. Let's dig in here today on Path with some news that we heard from earlier in the day, which is that the Andy Dalton era in Cincinnati is officially over. Dalton, the Bengals' second-round selection back in 2011, has asked for and been granted his release from the team. This, of course, coming on the heels of Cincy making LSU quarterback Joe Burrow the #1 overall pick a week ago today. Last year's #6 overall pick did get some help in the draft in an area of need. Giants quarterback Daniel Jones, who was sacked 38 times in 13 games as a rookie, watched his offense never really find consistent success on the ground as well, despite the occasional breakout from 2018 Rookie of the Year Saquon Barkley. So during the draft, both Jones and Barkley watching their team upgrade that offensive line. A look at the O-lineman drafted by GM Dave Gettleman, who made Andrew Thomas out of Georgia the first offensive tackle off the board with that #4 pick on night 1, and then followed that up by selecting 2 additional offensive linemen through the first 5 rounds. So you can certainly say that quarterback Daniel Jones was one that was definitely helped with their 2020 draft class. But Bucky, which quarterback in the league do you feel like was helped the most by their team's draft haul?
Oh, I'm going to go with Jimmy Garoppolo. And Jimmy Garoppolo benefits from the San Francisco 49ers making a great trade to get Trent Williams. Trent Williams is a high-end player, a perennial Pro Bowler. They're able to insert him right at left tackle to replace Joe Staley. But then they got him a weapon on the outside and Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel should form quite a tandem. Both guys are tough. They're fast, they're explosive with the ball. They do a great job of making things happen in traffic. So now an offense that can beat you up running also has explosive playmakers on the perimeter. They now can attack you in a variety of different ways.
I'll tell you what, the most fascinating one to me, and it's kind of interesting, was Kansas City, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Now, here's where he fits in. When defenses go to defend Mahomes, they start with Ty Hill with a double team. Then Travis Kelce with a double team. Then keep Mahomes in the pocket and force him to go to #3. Now, sometimes that could be Sammy Watkins, but even he can get double teamed. The point is they wanted to dump it off to the running back because they weren't afraid of the running back. Well, guess what? That game plan's out now, because I'll tell you what, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you're not going to tackle this guy one-on-one in space, man. I don't know how you defend Mahomes now.
Yeah, I don't know how you defend it. When you hear Andy Reid bring out the comparison to Brian Westbrook, that should be scary for defensive coordinators all over the league. Clyde Edwards-Helaire should give them a big-time boost in the backfield.
Sounds like you guys are expecting a rematch for Super Bowl 55 with the 49ers and Chiefs quarterbacks getting the call as the most improved. I think we could also agree that Dak Prescott's offense very much improved as well when he had CeeDee Lamb fall into the Cowboys' laps with that 17th overall pick. The Big 12 conference leader in receiving touchdowns in 2019, while also averaging over 21 yards a catch and excelling in the run after the catch category. He gets to team up now with Amari Cooper, putting the Cowboys in the conversation as one of the best wide receiver groups in the league. But Dallas did have some holes to fill on the defensive side of the ball as well, where they lost 3 starters in Robert Quinn and Byron Jones, and also in safety Jeff Heath, who all signed with other teams during free agency. So guys, this is the classic need selection versus best player available selection. And Bucky, when you have a player with the caliber of CeeDee Lamb fall into your laps there at 17, do you feel like the Cowboys made the right move there by taking him, or should they have addressed defense instead?
Oh, you can never go wrong taking the best available player. The worst thing that happens when you take a good player, you only enhance a position of strength. CeeDee Lamb was clearly better than any of the defensive players that were available at pass rusher, Caleb Chasen, or at corner. Talk about Damon Arnett, Jeff Gladney. So for me, it was a no-brainer. When the Cowboys are looking at their draft board and CeeDee Lamb is hanging out there, you just have to hand it in and then figure out how to play him later. I think this was a great move for the Dallas Cowboys, being true to philosophy.
Well, I'm with you, Bucky, on that. All of a sudden, your offense got even better. It's more explosive. Lamb will be their best receiver in time. He will draw double coverage, which Amari Cooper then has single coverage, and he can beat single coverage because he's a great route runner. One stat that's interesting, when Cooper was out of the lineup, they had a losing record. When he was in the lineup, they won 60% of the games. Third down, 47% completion percentage. When Cooper was out, 31%. Now, here's the other thing about corners. I agree with you. There was no shutdown corner. The New England Patriots won championships with average corners playing zone defense, keep the ball in front of you, don't let anybody beat you deep, play great red zone. Hey, CeeDee Lamb, go stop us now.
Well, and along that cornerback front, Bucky, the Cowboys did have a potential first rounder also fall into their laps there in the second round. Do you feel like they addressed some needs and maybe got some more value with the defenders they took after round one?
Well, absolutely. I think Trayvon Diggs and Reggie Robinson gave them two guys that can help them kind of alleviate the problems that they had on the outside. And Diggs, you have a long-rangey corner who's adept at playing press coverage, also has ball skills. When you look at Robinson, you can say the same. Both of these guys help them. And also because the scheme is changing with Mike Nolan, I think they'll be better positioned to play the ball.
And now time for our top five presented by Nationwide. And for the Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb was Daniel Jeremiah's #1 rated receiver, ends up being the third wideout off the board after he watched Jerry Jeudy go number 15 to the Broncos, and then Henry Ruggs as the top wideout called at number 12 to the Las Vegas Raiders. All five of DJ's top 5 receivers going in the first 25 picks, with Brandon Ayuk going to the Niners at pick number 25, and the 49ers first rounder joined our MJ Acosta after his selection.
Okay, so Brandon Ayuk, 25th overall selection, first round pick. Has that sound like sunk into you yet?
It really hasn't. But it's crazy. Just as I'm watching the draft, just to see my name come up as the first round picks come by and see my name next to the 49ers at 25. It's exciting, but it really hasn't hit me yet. I'm just excited and blessed and ready to get to work.
So from covering the 49ers the last few years, I can definitely affirm that you are going into not only one of the most dynamic wide receiver rooms, but one of the most colorful, personality-driven groups of guys there. I know Kendrick Bourne tweeted you, "Let's go get this ring." Have you been able to talk to Debo Samuel or to Kendrick Bourne so far, any of the guys on the team, and how have they welcomed you?
Yeah, so Debo called me the other day, so I've talked to him. But I remember during the season last year, talking to one of my friends, just saying how much fun the 49ers have and how close of a receiver group they are. So it's exciting. It's fun to be invited into that group. So look forward to it.
And guys, in total, 6 wide receivers selected on night 1 of the draft. But Bucky, which one of these receivers do you feel like can have an impact on day 1 in the NFL?
Oh, I think it's all about scheme and fit. And that's why I'm going with Jalen Reagor for the Philadelphia Eagles. I know it's a bit of a controversy when Jalen Reagor went ahead of Justin Jefferson, but for what the Philadelphia Eagles need, he is the perfect guy. A speedster with big playability, natural runner after the catch. He is explosive. And those kick return skills you see when he gets the ball in his hands, he is going to help Carson Wentz because he's a guy that can score from anywhere on the field.
Well, my pick's going to be Jerry Jeudy with the Denver Broncos. Certainly scheme and fit are important, but I think the other thing is important, who you're playing with now. First of all, Drew Lock. He finished strong last year, 4-1 record at the end of the year, over 60% completion percentage. So he really came on at the end. Then they got in the second round, KJ Hamler. He's an excellent slot receiver. Courtland Sutton, big, strong guy on the other side, will catch the deep ball. But most importantly, Melvin Gordon is back. He finished strong last year for the Chargers. I think this guy's poised to have a big year. So when you go defense him, you got to stop Melvin Gordon first. Noah Fant at tight end. They got some weapons. How about that?
Yeah.
You're not alone.
And and even added to that tight end group with Missouri's Albert Okwuegbunam there as well. So an exciting offense now to watch with the Denver Broncos. Boy, was the draft-a-thon also exciting to watch during the 3-day broadcast of the draft. Through that draft-a-thon, fans have now donated a whopping $6.
Watch this, all the way to the house. He's mobile, has a strong arm, and he's a winner. Tua rolls down the middle for the home run. Holy smokes. On to the races. Tua deep on the sideline. Touchdown, Alabama.
Tua Tagovailoa, the highest drafted player in the AFC East when the Dolphins made him their new franchise quarterback with a selection at number 5 overall. Comfortable with the injury history, elated over the extraordinary talent. The Fins may not have tanked, but they're still looking at Tua to turn that franchise around. And the Crimson Tide star accounting for the first of 3 first-round picks and an A+ from Charlie Casserly for Miami's 11-player draft class. Not only our Super Bowl winning GM, but an actual college professor. No stranger to making grades. And how much did Tua Tagovailoa's selection, Charlie, help the Dolphins make that A+?
Well, some, but they had a lot of picks, and they really aced almost every one of them. Tua's a top 5 pick in any draft. We don't have to talk much about him. We spent all spring talking about him. But the offensive line, Austin Jackson from USC, a left tackle with a lot of promise, and Robert Hunt, an offensive guard, who can also play tackle, a lot of promise to rebuild the offensive line. Then we go to the Jets. Speaking of offensive linemen, Mekhi Becton, left tackle, dominating run blocker. He's got ballerina feet. Guy can pass block. He protects the backside of Sam Darnold, and then Mims, the speed receiver from Baylor, gives him another weapon.
Yeah, and I like they added a little pass rush presence as well in the 3rd round when they took Florida's Jabari Zuniga. Let's move on to the Bills, who also got an A for you. What did you love about what GM Brandon Beane was able to pull off there, Charlie?
I'll tell you what, the move he made for the 1st round was brilliant. Stephon Diggs, he gets a number 1 speed receiver to add to the speed he already has at the wide receiver position. In the 2nd round, A.J. Epinesa from Iowa. This guy's a high motor guy. He can play left end against the run and come in and be a nickel pass rusher inside. And then we go to the New England Patriots. Josh Uche from Michigan. Versatile guy like Van Noy. This guy can rush the passer and he can cover. And then Devin Asiasi, the tight end from UCLA. Maybe the best blocking tight end of all the top tight ends. Plus, he's an excellent receiver. I know he's had some issues off the field, but this guy is a talented football player.
You know, it's tough. Everyone's still chasing the New England Patriots. Everyone made good draft picks, but we'll see if they can close the gap, even though the Patriots don't have Tom Brady anymore.
That's right. No quarterback or wide receiver in this year's draft, but they did go back-to-back with tight ends, getting Dalton Keene out of Virginia Tech right after the Asiasi pick. Let's move on to the NFC East now, where Chase Young, the best player on Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks' board, going to the Redskins at number 2. And while edge rusher may not have been the most pressing need for Washington, you don't pass up on players with that gold jacket potential, and that's what Ohio State sack master Chase Young brings to the table, a table he notes is quite full of pass rushing prowess.
You know, Montez, we got Ryan, John, D-Payne. I mean, when the inside guys are good too, you know, when you really work as a unit and you got all guys clicking on all cylinders and every guy's first rounder, I don't feel like an offense can really do anything but with a defensive line like that.
So Chase Young helping the Redskins earn a B for their efforts in this 2020 NFL Draft. In the NFC East Division, dominated by the Bs, according to our Bucky Brooks, with the Cowboys, the only team elevating to the A. So Bucky, back to the Redskins, who had that number 2 pick and got Chase Young. How did you feel like he factored into their grade of a B?
Oh, look, he's a solid player, more than a solid player. He's an excellent player. He gives them now 5 former first-round picks along that defensive line rotation. He's a gold jacket player. Everyone has talked about what he can be off the edge. I think he's going to be a dominant player and really help them. But what I really like about what the Redskins were able to do, they added some more weapons in the Antonios, Gibson and Gandy Golden. Gibson is a guy that might give them some Christian McCaffrey-like versatility, and then Gandy Golden gives them a big body on the edge. When I go to the Giants, what I like about the Giants is they're committed to really upgrading their secondary. Xavier McKinney gives them someone who reminds me a little bit of Landon Collins, meaning you can drop him in the box, he can make plays against the run, he's also a good traffic cop and a communicator, has some rangy skills. And then in Darnay Holmes, you get a natural nickel cornerback that should be able to see some playing time right away.
And they also used 4 of their final 5 picks in the draft to select linebackers, so trying to upgrade that position group as well. As we get to the Cowboys, Bucky, how did they earn the top mark in your book?
Look, everyone has talked about CeeDee Lamb, but it goes beyond CeeDee Lamb. They had some needs that they needed to address, and they addressed them later on. Cornerback was a huge need, so they threw 2 picks at it and getting Trevon Diggs, and then coming back and getting Reggie Robinson. When I look at Diggs is long, he's rangy, he can go nose to nose and play bump and run, but also has the ability to bail and make plays on the ball. And Robinson, you get a guy who's similar, very athletic and explosive, a gritty and competitive guy at the point of attack, needs to clean up some technical issues, but he has a lot of talent. I think he'll play well. Now, let's move on to the Philadelphia Eagles. A lot of controversy about the Jalen Hurts selection, but I want you to think about the Eagles in the playoffs. If they had a young developmental quarterback that could finish the game, they might have been able to win that game. Hurts will give them that. He'll develop in time. And then getting someone down the line, Quez Watkins, another speedy receiver to join up with Jalen Reagor. You talk about an Eagles wide receiver corps that needed more speed and explosiveness. They now have that with the people that they brought on during the draft.
Well, I'll tell you what, 2 things that jumped out to me, and there were a lot of them. Second round, Xavier McKinney to the Giants, Trevon Diggs to the Cowboys. I had first-round grades on both of them. Hey, pick the best player available. They did it.
I would agree. This is a nice draft for this division there in the NFC East, and you can check out more of our draft grades over on NFL. Back here with you on Path to the Draft, presented by Nationwide, where the NFL is now providing free complimentary access to NFL Game Pass for fans. You can watch full game replays, previous seasons of Hard Knocks, and more. To sign up and for more information, just go to NFL.com/Game Pass. The 49ers were able to slide back just 1 spot and still get their guy at number 14, drafting South Carolina's Javon Kinlaw with their first of 2 first-round selections, using the pick they got from the Colts in the DeForest Buckner trade to potentially draft his replacement, continuing to fortify a position group of strength. And as you look now at the 49ers sack leaders from a year ago, Eric Armstead and Nick Bosa combining for 19 sacks, so they lose DeForest Buckner's 7.5 as he's now off to Indianapolis. But if you want to bring in Kinlaw's college stats, he had 6 sacks from his defensive line spot at South Carolina a year ago. Time now to build your case, presented by the Home Depot. And I guess we can make the argument that the 49ers position group there on defensive line, one of the most improved we saw following the draft. But Bucky, is there another position group that qualifies as most improved following their team's 2020 draft class?
I'm going to go to the Las Vegas Raiders and their secondary. Adding Damon Arnett and Amik Robertson has certainly made them better. And I know there was a lot of outrage and controversy over the Arnett pick, whether he deserved to be a first-round pick. But when I looked at the film, I saw a solid technician, a guy who is tough, competitive, does a great job of using a variety of techniques. And then when you team him with Amik Robertson, who is arguably one of the better nickel corners, a ball hawk who also has a physical game, I think the Raiders have gotten better because they have 2 guys that should be able to step into the rotation immediately.
Now I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens. The biggest weakness they had when I looked at the roster was the inside linebacker position. Patrick Queen, first-round pick. Quick, athletic, can cover, starts immediately. Malik Harrison in the 3rd round will compete for a starting position, and I think he might get it there.
Yeah, I think both of those guys are able to step right onto the field. They give them a little thump and some athleticism on the 2nd level.
Yeah, just a terrific draft by the Baltimore Ravens. How about another group that you feel like could qualify as most improved, Bucky?
The Carolina Panthers, improving their defensive line. Derek Brown gives them a disruptive force on the inside. You simply don't see guys that are this size that play as hard as he plays with a level of physicality. And then going to the outside, Yetur Gross-Matos gives them a pass rusher. In my mind, that reminds me a little bit of Jason Pierre-Paul. Long ranges with great hand skills. He has a chance to be a really good one.
I'll tell you what, Dave Gettleman made the comment that he was going to get it right, getting the offensive line fixed this time. And you know what, Dave? I think you did. Andrew Thomas, the left tackle. This guy will set the tone for your offensive line. And then at guard, but moving to center, is Shane Lemieux. Played guard in college, practice center. He's going to be given a chance to compete for the starting center position. And the right tackle of the future is 2021 now. Matt Pert from Connecticut, 6'5", long arms, good balance, athletic. He just needs a year of seasoning. Good job, Dave.
Yeah, I think Gettleman's put together a nice young nucleus with the 3 offensive linemen, then Saquon and Daniel Jones.
And Bucky, to double down on your point, how about the Carolina Panthers just committing to entirely selecting defensive players in this draft, with all 7 of their selections coming on that side of the ball. First time we've seen a team go all defense or all offense there in the modern era of the draft. That's going to do it for us on this edition of Path to the Draft this Thursday, but we are right back with you tomorrow for our season finale of Path. We'll take a look at some rookie versus rookie matchups, one-on-one battles that we could see in 2020. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you back here tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern.